Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is a video I didn't think I was gonna actually ever do, which is a Twitter response video. And it's not that I, don't want to respond to these kind of things. It's more like I just don't really like Twitter all that much. But in this case, someone sent this to me, and it's actually really interesting. So I'm gonna go here. Obviously, this is Ethan Van Sciver's Twitter, Comics Thumbs Moses. Oh man. Say what you will about Ethan, he really knows how to have fun with people. But anyway, I wanted to get to this because it actually involves me, amazingly enough. So we're going to go down to this one right here where he first answers us. And I guess a guy named A Red Blip sends him basically a cut of one of my videos here. So let me see. Let's get to the top of this right here. This is what you're competing against at Walmart, okay? This, all right? So this is 180 pages. It's $9.99, which is basically 2 of these. And I guarantee you, none of these freaking comics from Allegiance Arts in 2 issues has the same amount of story as the first chapter of My Hero Academia. And then this thing actually goes over a whole bunch of other extra stories too, because again, it's a manga, so you got 180 pages of stuff. You know, this is what you're competing against, all right? You're not competing against, Marvel or DC. You're competing against this, okay? Because if your goal is to get kids back into comics, this is what they're reading right now. They're not reading Superman, Batman, X-Men or... Anyway, you get the gist. So this was from my Allegiance Arts video. I think this was the 3rd issue where I kind of picked everything up from Walmart and kind of went over sort of quick reviews of everything. Again, so this is one of the rare videos where I actually go on a rant. I usually don't do videos like these, but when I feel it's like merited, I'll do it, right? And it's kind of interesting. So this guy, Red Blip, he cut this section of the video, which I think is unfortunate because the video actually goes into some other reasons why I'm not particularly happy with these books. Mainly the issue of decompression, which I think is actually a bigger problem than even the price point for a lot of the American comics. But yeah, so it looks like Ethan kind of replied to him, and his reply here is, that's the difference between American comics and manga in a nutshell. Look, if Cyberfrog had a circulation of 90 million comics, I suppose I could sell it for $1 and hire 25 artists to help me produce 180 pages of high quality art monthly too, but alas. Now, I do gotta say this is a bit, of an exaggeration. Not every manga team has 25 artists. I think Naruto and maybe a few others might have had quite a few artists. A lot of times, manga creation teams are usually like 1 to 3 people at most. So this is a bit of an exaggeration. And also, as some people note here in the comments, it's actually weekly for manga. But again, that's kind of besides the point. Anyway, let's go answer the rest of Ethan's stuff here. Eventually, Cyberfrog Season 1 will be completed, and there will be a 400-page volume that I suppose I could do a cheap softcover reprint of and sell for $10. It's a work, it takes time and money, it just doesn't appear. Now, again, that's not really the point I'm trying to make here completely with this video. And again, it's not like apples to apples with what he's doing either. So, again, that's kind of something to think about right here. I didn't say that. You see, this is why I don't like Twitter. It's just like a freaking smorgasbord of stuff all over the website every time you open it up. But anyhow, 16. Anyway, let's get to a different answer right here, because this is the one I really want to answer here. And so to sum up, this is a disingenuous argument. This isn't a fair comparison. Monthly pamphlet versus collected edition. It would be more valid to slap a 180-page Spawn collection down next to a My Hero Academia and say, why isn't this Spawn collection $10? Technically, I do have a Spawn collection for $10, and I could slap it next to My Hero Academia. And I would be dead honest, I would actually prefer the My Hero Academia because I have Spawn Volume 1, the newly released one too. That went for $10. It's actually less pages than My Hero Academia. It's also a lot less story, but that's for another discussion. But anyway, going through this, here's the deal. And something that gets missed here, and I think misunderstood by a lot of people here in America, and also that may not be familiar with Japan. So again, I'm not going to weeb out here. I'll try to make this as simple as possible. this is actually how manga gets published in its native country in Japan. So this is the Weekly Shonen Jump. In Japan, they don't do floppies. They do these basically phone book-like anthologies. So let me show a picture right here. So yeah, you see how thick it is right here? Let me do this. Yeah, it's like a phone book, essentially, right? And that's typically what manga gets published in. And so again, ignore this price. This is someone obviously price gouging because they're importing a Japanese product. But what I want you to do is take a look at this. So if you see the screen, there's a number 14. This was released in March 22nd. And then you see a 270. And what you may not know is the symbol right behind the 270, right next to it to the right. Again, I'm not a super Japanophile here, but fairly certain that's the kanji for yen, which is the currency in Japan. So basically, this phone book release is being sold in Japan for about 270 yen. So a little quick check here, 270 yen equates to 245 USD. So basically, their equivalent of a floppy goes on sale for $2.50. And unlike an American comic book, you get a lot of stuff in here. And to show, let me show you this. So this is the database for it. This is Weekly Shonen Jump issue number 14, 2021. So table of contents, you get, One Piece, My Hero Academia, blah, 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 blah. There's 21 chapters in this book. That's why it's a phone book, essentially. Each of these, on average, is about 18 to 20 pages. But even if you did that right, let's say it was 20 by 20, it's a lot of pages. It's a lot of content. And while admittedly, they are decompressed, as some people have noticed, and that just is the manga style. They kind of take, a while to get things down. They don't, jip you out. So for 240 or 270 yen, $2.45, you get all of these chapters and all of these stories, right? All in one convenient package. And that's just kind of how the Japanese do what they do. Now, again, I'm not going to say that America should copy this. I know there are some people who really don't want that. They want the floppy to live on forever. I get it. The floppy's cool. But the essence of what I was trying to say in this video was that, if your goal is to compete against, or get kids back into comic books, right? This is what you're competing against. You're competing against manga, right? And it doesn't really matter, whether, well, it's not fair because they've got a bunch of people doing this or it's a collected edition or something like that. Even if, and in fact, if they actually released it in the format that it was in Japan, it would be an even bigger beatdown of American comics because they can technically give you 20 issues worth of content, for 270 yen, which equates to $2.45. So even this in its native country is cheaper than an Allegiance Arts comic book here at Walmart. So, my intention here wasn't to be, unfair to Allegiance. My intention here was to point out a discrepancy between the American product and the Japanese product, right? It's kind of like, cars in a way, right? At least way back in the days, right? There was a huge difference between the build quality and the longevity of, say, Toyota and Honda and American car manufacturers like Ford and Chevy, etc. Like, everybody knew it. That's how Toyota and Honda, ended up dominating the market around the world, was just the quality difference and essentially what you got, your bang for your buck, right? And this is kind of the same deal, in a way. You're talking about, hey, let me charge you $4.99 or $4.98, I should say, for 22 pages of content here. And then the worst part is the pacing of these Allegiance Arts books are very, very slow. They're very modern style writing. It takes forever to get to the point. In fact, it takes longer to get to the point than a lot of manga, which is, I don't know, kind of frustrating and embarrassing in a way. But, that's kind of where I'm getting at here, is that the intention here is not to, is not to be unfair to American comics here. It's to point out where American comics need to work on stuff. They need to work on value, right? And they need to work on, what makes them different. I like the American format. I like, that it's kind of tall and thin, and you got this lightweight, floppy that you can kind of carry around compared to these manga books, right? I also like the color. You know, I like a lot of the art as well. But I think one thing that American comics need to get back to is it needs to get back to a more compressed style of storytelling. It needs to get back to what Americans historically have been very good at, and that is short stories, right? I think, you know, everyone wants to do these long-running epics that take forever, you know, and take like 10 to 12 issues to tell, you know, just so you can work for the trade, or if you're Jonathan Hickman, you know, work for the omnibus. But the reality is American comics were built on short stories. You know, Spider-Man was told in like 11 pages. You know, there's the first Spider-Man story, which basically sets up everything about Spider-Man for the most part. And a lot of comics were like that back in the days, but they're not like that anymore. And that's really where I'm kind of, you know, the point of the original video here, and not just this shortcut that a red blip brings out. So, you know, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Again, I don't have anything against Ethan. People who've been watching my channel know I actually like Ethan's stuff, and I definitely am looking forward to Cyberfrog Wrecked Planet. I got my stuff coming in whenever he finishes it. But, you know, here's some here. Like, how exactly is this a disingenuous argument? I don't know who this guy is. Again, I don't do Twitter, so it's like, eh. I think the one I really like, though, is Just Some Guy. He really, and I kind of am on the same page as Just Some Guy in my opinion on manga versus US. And he's basically saying, no, it's pretty fair. Manga is presented in the US as volumes, not single issues. They're also structured differently, with manga basically being visual novels, whereas American comics are like films edited for TV with poorly timed commercial breaks. You know, and then he says, you know, and Ethan brings back, well, sure, but we offer volumes in the USA too. We do, but we don't market it that way. The books usually come out as single issues first, so that's going to be what people think of when they think of comics. And then he also brings a point. I don't think the colored pages are that big of a deal, given the YA trades cost about the same as a manga, $12 to $15. That's true. Most trades end up coming in at around the same price as manga anyway. The other thing a lot of people don't mention is trades tend to be lower page count than manga. Is another thing that I have personally noticed when I look at trades, especially new trades that come out. They also don't print them in particularly high quantities, and it's hard to get trades consistently at bookstores, at least for me. And also certain comic shops, they don't really like trades. They kind of prefer you to come in every Wednesday and buy the latest issue. It's kind of how they work, right? You know, and he's like, I mean, Image puts out trades for $10. You know, so yeah, here's the deal. I think right here, you know, this is an example of also why I don't like Twitter. So I get a video cut by like 50 seconds and it's just me ranting and not the rest of it. And the other thing is, you know, again, I think people don't understand that, you know, even though there is a format difference here in the United States, it's not like Japan doesn't have their equivalent of floppies over there. They just don't see it to be efficient to just sell individual floppies, and instead they combine it into this super phone book that they sell for like $250, which again, you know, is $250. Like, holy cow! Like, man, it's probably a good thing the Japanese don't, you know, find a way to distribute the Shonen Jump here, because they might really kick the crap out of us. Yeesh. All right. Anyhow, I've kind of gone on long enough here. I'm not going to make a habit of doing these videos, but you know, it is what it is. You know, if we're going to keep, you know, driving up the cost of American comics, you know, and not providing more value, you know, I mean, the markets will just self-correct. So, you know, it kind of is what it is. Nevertheless, still, you know, no ill will to anyone here. You know, I hope Ethan continues to be successful. But I think, you know, I don't agree here. I don't think this is a disingenuous argument at all. I think this is, in my opinion, sort of the elephant in the room for American comics that they're going to have to eventually face if they really want to get back to being relevant again. Anyhow, that's the video. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. If you got any comments about, you know, all of this Twitter fun stuff, let me know down below, and I will see you next time.